The boy's body collapsed on the pavement like a lifeless doll, and for a moment, everything in the world seemed to freeze. Cars slowed, whispers rose, and a single terrified gasp cut through the summer air. It came from a young girl, thin, dust-covered, with tangled hair and clothes that had seen too many nights on the street. She knelt beside the unconscious boy with a trembling urgency, her hands pressing against his still chest, her breath shaking as she leaned in. People stared, unsure what to do, afraid to intervene, but she didn't hesitate, not even when the sound of loud motorcycle engines roared toward her like thunder rolling across concrete. That was the moment everyone watching realized she wasn't just fighting for the boy's life, she was fighting against fear itself. If you believe kindness and second chances still matter in this world, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It truly helps stories like this reach more hearts. Her name was Lily, a 15-year-old who had been homeless for nearly a year after life dealt her more losses than most adults ever face. She wandered streets with a small backpack, a blanket, and a heart that refused to give up on people, even when people had long given up on her. She had no parents to run home to, no warm meal waiting anywhere, but she had something she carried quietly, a first aid certification from 8th grade, the last gift her mother had ever encouraged her to complete before tragedy separated them forever. That memory lived inside her like a small candle, and it flickered now as her hands pushed rhythmically against the chest of the biker's son. The boy, maybe 14, maybe 15, had crashed his bike on the sharp bend near the intersection. No one knew how fast he was going or what startled him, but he hit the pavement and never got up. Lily had been sitting on the curb across the street, hungry and tired from another night sleeping behind a grocery store, when she heard his bike crash. She didn't think twice. She ran. She grabbed his shoulders, checked his breathing, felt nothing but terrifying stillness, and started CPR just the way her old instructor taught her. Then came the sound everyone feared, the Hell's Angels, rolling in like a storm. 3 bikes pulled up first, then 5 more, forming a circle of engines around her. These weren't men people approached casually. Tattoos, leather cuts, heavy boots, sharp eyes, they carried reputations bigger than the town itself. And leading them was the boy's father, a tall, broad man whose presence alone made people step back. When he saw his son lying motionless beneath the trembling hands of a homeless teenage girl, his face turned into something raw and wounded. But instead of anger, he knelt beside her, his voice low, urging her to keep going. The world around them turned silent. The bikers removed their vests, shaded her from the sun, and one called 911 while another cleared space for the ambulance. Lily's arms burned, her breath grew thin, but she didn't stop. Sweat dripped down her forehead, and tears blurred her vision, but she kept pushing and breathing for the boy until, suddenly, he gasped. A soft, weak, precious gasp. The kind that makes everyone exhale in relief all at once. The paramedics arrived and took over, confirming that the boy's heart had restarted. They loaded him into the ambulance, and the father, this man who moments earlier looked carved from stone, turned to Lily with eyes filled with emotion no one expected. He asked her name. She looked down, embarrassed by her dirty shoes and threadbare shirt, and said nothing at first. But he placed a hand gently on her shoulder, and she finally whispered, "Lily." The bikers exchanged glances, and something unspoken passed through them. They saw her, really saw her, not just as a homeless girl sitting on curbs, not as someone invisible or forgotten, but as someone who had fought harder for their friend's son than anyone else dared to. The father rode behind the ambulance, and the first thing he did was insist Lily come with him. She tried to say no, tried to step back, afraid of being a burden, but one of the bikers picked up her worn-out backpack and handed it to her, saying she wasn't going anywhere alone tonight. They didn't leave it as a suggestion. At the hospital, the boy's mother arrived, sobbing with relief when she learned her son was alive. When she discovered that a homeless girl had saved him, she held Lily as though she were her own daughter. Lily didn't know how to handle kindness anymore, it felt foreign, almost painful, but she didn't pull away. Not this time. Hours passed, and the boy finally woke up. The moment he whispered, "What happened?" his parents broke down. When they told him Lily saved his life, he looked at her with an awe she hadn't seen directed at herself in a very long time. News of the incident spread fast. By evening, the entire town knew. But what shocked everyone wasn't the rescue, it was what the Hells Angels did next. They took Lily in. Not as charity. Not out of pity. But as family. They arranged a safe place for her to stay, bought her clean clothes, gave her warm meals, and vowed she would never sleep on a sidewalk again. The boy's father personally drove her to a local youth shelter that partnered with them, securing her a long-term bed and support. The bikers even organized a fundraiser for her future, raising enough for counseling, school re-entry, and a stable foundation. Lily, who had spent months believing the world had forgotten her, suddenly found herself surrounded by people who saw her worth clearer than she ever had. The boy she saved visited her often, grateful and full of new life. The town that once walked past her now greeted her with respect. And the Hells Angels, feared by many, became her protectors, her unexpected guardians, her family when she had none. As her life slowly rebuilt itself, piece by fragile piece, the town learned a powerful truth: sometimes heroes wear torn shoes and carry heavy pasts. Sometimes angels arrive on roaring motorcycles. And sometimes, the smallest act of courage can remind an entire community of what humanity really means. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more inspiring stories to the world. Before the final moment, here's a special request: comment what part of Lily's journey moved you the most. In the end, Lily didn't just save a life, she saved her own future, proving that even in the darkest corners of life, kindness can spark miracles that ripple far beyond anything we expect.